This is Nikki of Nikki's Homemade Crafts. Today I'm going to teach you how to crochet the Tunisian entrelac stitch or pattern, however you want to call it. I have here two examples just for you to get an idea of it. The amount of stitches really doesn't matter as long as it's a square. So here we have white and black, and then this is pink and purple. So I'm going to use yellow and purple for my little swatch so I can show you how this pattern is actually made. It's fairly easy. You really just need to know how to do the Tunisian simple stitch. You can totally do this in other stitches as well, like the Tunisian knit stitch or the Tunisian purl stitch. The entrelac pattern is pretty much a corner to corner pattern. Just like you do with regular crochet, you start at one corner, you work your way over. So you first do one square, then you do two squares, then you do three squares, and so forth. And then the decrease pretty much happens when you finish the amount of vertical stitches that you have. Let's say the diagonal width here pretty much from one corner to another. So from here you can see I went from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we started over here instead of down here again, right? So that's how you then do the decreases. So technically it's not really a decrease per se. You're just starting, instead of on the bottom, you're starting a little higher up, right? And then instead of going all the way over here, you're just stopping one earlier. So that way you have now 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches and 4 squares, right? And then over here it would be then 3, 2, and 1, right? So you're working from one corner to another corner. So obviously you can totally do this also into a triangle or even into a rectangle. So let's get started on this project. For my example here, I'm using an 8mm hook and we crochet Brava yarn in bulky. I'm going to start with yellow over here and then we go into purple, just so that you can see how to do this. Okay, so we're going to start with I'm just going to pick a chain of 7 here. As I said, you can totally make this bigger or smaller. And we're going to start from the second chain from the hook. And I like to go into the back bump here, and I'm just going to pull up loops, which are the Tunisian simple stitch. So in each chain you're just pulling up a loop, and that's the Tunisian simple stitch. In this case it's the foundation row because it doesn't go into another Tunisian simple stitch, it's going into the chain. And once you're done, you should have 7 loops on your hook. So double check your amount of loops on your hook, or stitches in this case, is equal to the amount of chains that you had. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so that's for the forward pass, of course. So typically the first and the last stitch are known as the edge stitches, and then in between you have the regular stitches. So return pass is done this way. You're going to do yarn over and pull through 1, and then for the rest of the row it's yarn over and pull through 2. Now we're going to go into row 2, and that's the one you're going to repeat for a few times. So in order to go to row 2, you're simply going into these vertical bars, yarn over and pull through. And you're going to do this for every stitch until the end. So keep in mind that the very first loop that we did over here, or is already over there, is the edge stitch, and then here we just started picking up the loops, and at the very last stitch again is the edge stitch, and I like to go through 2 loops over here, right? It's the same stitch over and over here, and then yarn over and pull through, right? So that's your edge stitch. And again, you should have 7 loops on your hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now you're going to work it off as you did before. So yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2 for the rest of the row. Now you're going to repeat this row a few more times until you have a square. It should be 5 rows in total. So there we go. So typically you will probably see it in a way where the amount of rows you're going to do for the entrelac is typically the amount of stitches between the edge stitches. So we did 7 chains We have 7 loops on our hook for the forward pass, and on each side you have 1 edge stitch, so that means 2. So therefore you should have 5 rows, the same amount of stitches as the center amount of stitches. See, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches in the center, so 5. Okay, so now we need to finish off our square. And by the way, if it's not a square, you just need to add or reduce rows, right? So to finish this off, you're going to do slip stitches. So I highly recommend doing them a little looser than you normally do for a slip stitch, because you need to go back into those stitches later on. Okay, so keep that in mind. So you can totally do a chain of 1 here if you wanted to. I'm just going to leave it and just going to start with slip stitches. Okay, so loose slip stitches. You're going to need those later and go back into them. So you're going into each stitch and making a slip stitch like so. And then you're going to fasten off and cut your yarn. And it's going to look like this for your very first pixel. This is again just an example pixel. The pixel can totally be bigger or smaller. All right, we're now going to start with purple, okay? And we're going to start on the bottom right here. So you have your chain on the bottom. So like look at your project like this. So the lines go vertical, right? So you're going to tilt it a little bit right here. And what we need to do is we need to go into this chain here on the bottom. You can go into the chain or somewhere close to it, because not into the very first row. Okay, so remember, this is the very first row. We need to go kind of a little bit lower than that. So you can totally go into this turning chain right here. If you fit it into it, you can get into that and then pull your loop through. There we go. And you're going to make 6 chains. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, because we need to connect it to the side here of this pixel, and that's going to be your 7th one. Okay, so once you have your chain of 6, you're going to start again just like you normally do for your foundation row, starting from the 2nd chain from the hook, yarn over and pull through. You're going to do your Tunisian simple stitches for the entire project, right? So just pick up loops like so. And at this stage you should have 6. So we need to do 1 more, and let's go down here into the very first row, okay, into that edge stitch and pull up another loop. Okay, so like so. So you should have 7 at this stage. So count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the 7th one is from that edge stitch, right? Now you're going to work it off as normal. So yarn over and pull through 1, yarn over and pull through 2 for the rest of the row. Now you're going into the 2nd row. Again, go into those vertical bars and pull up your loops. And once you have 6 on your hook, you need the 7th one. So again, you go into that edge stitch right here, go in there, yarn over and pull through. So you have your 7 loops on your hook. Then finish it up as you normally do. Now you're going to repeat row 2 until you have 5 rows in total. And at this stage, it's going to look like this. So you have your 5 rows, but we need to finish up the 5th row with slip stitches. So again, make sure that your slip stitches are done loosely. So yarn over and pull through and pull through. Just make sure that they're loose. You're going to go into those stitches later on. And then go into this one right here and connect into that as the last one. And now they are connected, okay? All right, and now we're going to go into each stitch, and there should be 7. If you made a chain of 1 here in the beginning or before the slip stitch started, then it might be easier. But otherwise, just go like 1 below here for the last connection. So now that you have 1 loop already on your hook, right, you're going to go into each stitch. Those were the slip stitches you did previously, and you're just going to pick up your loops. Okay, so there should be 6 stitches up here. You did the 7th one kind of a little bit lower there, right? That's your connection stitch that you did. And you should end up with 7 stitches right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So make sure you have 7 after you did your connection over here, okay? And now you're going to work it off like you normally do. So we're now working on this pixel right here above. So we went from 1 pixel, then we now going into 2 pixels, right? So you have your 7 stitches, yarn over and pull through 1, and then finish it up with yarn over, pull through 2 for the rest of the row. There we go. So now you're going to go into row 2 and you do it as you normally do. You pick up your loops. And you should have 7. And then finish it up as you normally do. And then you're going to repeat row 2 3 more times until you have 5 rows in total, and you're going to finish it off with the slip stitches. So this is how it's going to look like after 5 rows, and now I just need to finish it off with the slip stitches. So you can totally do here a chain of 1 if you feel like that's easier when you then do later on your connection, and then you do slip stitches. Make sure that they're loose, because you notice that you have to go back into them later. And if they're too tight, it'll be hard to do. And then you can cut your yarn. All right, now let's start on the bottom. Let's do 1 more increasing row so you can see how this looks like when you're kind of in the center of it. Okay, I'm just not going to cut my yarn here. I'm just going to show you how to do this with yellow, but typically you would cut it. So I'm going to insert my hook down here where that chain of 1 is, that turning chain. And you're going to pull your loop through like so, and you're going to add 6 more chains to it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So if you would be doing a decrease right now, you would attach it up here and pick up your loops this direction, right? So if you're doing a decrease, you would start here and not attach it here and make more chains, but you're going to start here and then picking up loops on those slip stitches. I'll show you that later so that you have an idea for that as well. So, but for currently, we're still doing an increase. So we have our 6 chains. We're going to do our Tunisian simple stitches as normal. So starting from the 2nd chain from the hook, and you're going to pick up your loops until you have 6. So here you can see I have 6 loops, and now the next one needs to go right into this edge stitch. And that way I have 7. You always have to have 7 for this specific example. Then yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2 for the rest of the row. Now we're going to go into row 2 the same way as we did before. So simply go into your vertical bars and pick up your loops until you have 6 loops. And then the 7th one comes from this edge stitch right here. You're just simply going into that edge stitch until you have your 7 loops. And then you're going to work it up as normal. Now go ahead and finish this specific pixel until you have 5 rows again, and you did your slip stitches at the end until you hit this corner right here, and then I'll meet you back here after that. All right, and it's going to look like this once you're done and you made your slip stitches too, and you should be now in this corner. So now let's pick up our loops on this direction right here and make sure we have 7 loops in total. Okay, so we have our first loop here. Then this next one is going right into these slip stitches, and you're picking up your loops. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now you're going into that edge stitch right here, because remember, we're going into the first row. So we need to go right into that edge stitch like so, and pick up our 7th loop. So again, you always have to have 7 for the specific example. Then yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2 for the rest of the row. And now you're going to do rows 2 through 5 as you normally would. So just pick up your loops one by one, and then the 7th one is always into that edge stitch. So until you have 7 loops on your hook, and then you finish it up like you normally would. Now go ahead and finish that until you have your pixel done. All right, and this is how it looks like so far. So if I would make a square now, I would add one more pixel right here, but I'm going to show you how to do it as a rectangle. So if I want to do another pixel in order to finish the rectangle, it would be right here. So let's add that one more pixel. So instead of doing an increase down here, we're starting now over here. And now you can see how this looks like. You can see that we did a decrease here in the purple by starting one up higher. And we also did for the yellow also a decrease by stopping one early, but we still did an increase down here, right? So every time you start down here and did an increase where you added chains to it, that's an increase, and you added a pixel to it. But if you stop early before the edge right here, one pixel early, then it's also a decrease on that end. So increase here, decrease here, and then we did both decreases here on this one because we started here, but we didn't finish on the edge, right? We stopped over here. So that means we also did a decrease here. So that turned it into a rectangle instead of a square, right? So that way you can learn all the different ways and how to do increases as well as decreases. I made these pixels by having 7 loops for the forward path each time and 5 rows plus slip stitching row. So again, you can make these pixels or these squares as big as you like, and you can make the entire project as big or small as you like, as long as you have it even and it's always a little pixel, right? In this example, you can see it was a square. For both of these are squares, right? And obviously it's more stitches, but it's the same way. By the way, the back looks like this, in case you are curious. And I hope you see how easy that really is. Quick reminder, there's a link down below in the description that gives you the written instructions of this pattern. And remember to like, comment, and share this video with your crochet besties. And of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on the bell to get a notification next time I publish a video or go live. And otherwise, watch the next video. You'll see it pop right up here.